What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Samsung Galaxy A25 5G. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the Samsung Galaxy A25 5G. Now this device was recently launched, and it's being offered for just $299 factory unlocked. So we're really getting a lot of value here with this device, and I'm looking forward to showing you why that is here in this video. Now, in addition to being available in the US, the Galaxy A25 5G is also being offered all around the world, so definitely check to see if it is being offered in your region. But for those of you that are in the US, you might also want to consider looking into if your carrier is offering the Galaxy A25 5G, because typically if you buy a phone through a carrier, you can save quite a bit of money compared to the full MSRP if you're to buy it factory unlocked. So just something worth considering there. Now before we get too far into things here with the A25 5G, let's see what all comes included in the box. So here's the box right here. You can see right there, A25 5G. There is a picture of the phone, and the color of this device specifically is called blue black. But in the box, we have a SIM card removal tool. We also have some literature here about the device. And then finally, we have a double-sided USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. But unfortunately, there is no USB wall adapter included. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A25 5G, we're getting a very large 6.5-inch display, and this is a Super AMOLED display. In addition to that, this display has a 120Hz refresh rate, so things are super smooth here. Now, if you do go into the settings on the device, you can go into where it says display, and then if you go down here, you can see motion smoothness. So by default, it is set to high motion smoothness, which means that the phone will be using that full 120Hz refresh rate. But if you are curious what the difference is without this feature, you can pick 60Hz, which will give you better battery life, but you can see after we apply that, and then you navigate around the phone, things are a bit more choppy here because it is running at 60Hz instead of 120Hz. So heading back to the settings, we'll switch it back to 120, just like that. And then now you can see after making that change, you can definitely notice it. So 120Hz is definitely a nice premium feature to have here with the display on the device. And then with it being Super AMOLED, we're getting really rich, bold colors, also excellent viewing angles as well. And having that excellent display technology really makes this phone feel a lot more expensive than it actually is. And things get even better in addition to that. So with this device, we're getting a 1080p display, we're getting a PPI of 396, we're getting a 19.5:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we're getting an 84.2% screen to body ratio. So pretty small bezels all throughout, with a slightly thicker bottom bezel, and then up top here we do have the notch. And then in that notch is a 13 megapixel front-facing camera. Now overall, I don't find the notch to be annoying necessarily. I do wish it was a hole punch instead. I feel like that's a little bit more of a modern smartphone trend. And this overall form factor of having the notch up top here and the slightly thicker bottom bezel has pretty much been the appearance of most lower-end Android smartphones, and especially Samsung A-series phones, for probably about 5 or 6 years by now. So it would be really nice to see some improvements or at least some changes when it comes to the design of the various A-series devices. But I suppose that when you're getting in this more affordable segment, the priority is really specifications rather than the overall design of the device. And the good news is, with the design of the A25 5G, it's certainly meant to be a very practical smartphone, fitting the current modern needs of people when they're using their devices. For example, by having this large display, it makes the phone excellent for watching video content, going on social media, and all those various things. But again, up top here we have that 13 megapixel front-facing camera. Internally with this device, we're getting 128 gigabytes of storage, along with microSD card expansion. So 128 gigs for a phone that sells for just $300 is really great to see. That's definitely a very generous amount of storage. And if you want to compare it, the Pixel 8 Pro, which is quite a bit more expensive, still comes with a 128 gigabyte base configuration. So this phone is literally a fraction of the price of that device, but at the same time, we're getting this much storage here. And then if 128 gigs is not enough for you, then you always do have that option to put a microSD card into the device. Now with the Galaxy A25 5G, there is no wireless charging, which is a bit unfortunate, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the power button. So let's give that a try. And as you can see, pretty much near instant there. Let's try it one more time. So that's very fast and responsive and accurate, and I also like the placement of that fingerprint sensor. It's very convenient having it be located on the power button. And then also in addition to that, this device does offer face unlock, so I do appreciate that we have multiple methods here for getting into the Galaxy A25 5G. Now take a look at the camera module on the back of the device. We are getting a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. But here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is the main rear camera right now, and you can see that by default, we're actually capturing images here at 12 megapixels. Now, this phone does have a 50 megapixel main camera, but to capture images in that full 50 megapixels, you do have to switch it over to that. So you can tap up here, and then it'll switch it over to 50 megapixels, and then from there, you can capture your image. Now there are a few downsides with 50 megapixel photos. Of course, the upside is that the quality is better, but the downside is, as you can see right there, it takes an extra second to capture the photo, and in addition to that, the images do take up significantly more space on the device. So you might want to just occasionally use that feature there, and you might want to, for the most part, take photos in 12 megapixels, but here's an example of a 50 megapixel photo. And things are super crisp here, so quality is definitely excellent by using that specific mode on the device. But then from here, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera. And as you can see, with that camera, we can fit a lot more into a single frame here. And then we can go over to the more tab, and you can see the macro camera right there. And then with the macro camera, you can have things very close up here. So we'll take a photo of this Lego. There we go. And you can see there's a lot of detail there in that photo. I can even see the text of Lego on the little parts of the Lego. And then with this device, we're also getting portrait mode, so you can get those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can also flip around to the front-facing camera and take portrait selfies. So there's me right there. We can also take standard selfies as well. And then there's even an option here to crop out a little bit for a group selfie. And then in video mode for the front-facing camera, video recording does max out at 1080p at 30 FPS. And then with the rear camera, video recording maxes out at 4K at 30 FPS. Now internally here with the Galaxy A25 5G, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the Samsung Exynos 1280 processor. Now 6 gigs of RAM is a pretty decent amount of RAM, and that processor overall has provided really good performance. So if you do find yourself considering buying this phone and you're concerned that it might be too slow for you, just know that it's certainly not the fastest phone out there, but definitely for quite a few tasks that you typically do on your smartphone, such as going on social media, watching video content, phone calls, text messages, all of that, this phone is going to be plenty fine for that purpose. And then in addition to that, hence the name of this device, it is compatible with 5G connectivity. So at this point in 2024, I do think you can still get by with just 4G LTE, but at the same time, if you're going to put the time and effort into getting a brand new smartphone, I feel like you may as well get one that does support your carrier's latest and greatest 5G network. Now I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 6, and here are the scores that I got from that test. So I got a single core score of 954 and a multi-core score of 2067. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to see how the A25 5G compares. But again, overall, I'm pretty happy with these scores, especially for a $300 smartphone. That's plenty good. And then with this device, we are getting a very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, and this phone is compatible with up to 25 watt fast charging. Now you saw during the unboxing portion of this video that the device does come with a double-sided USB-C cable, but there is no wall adapter. So if you do want to actually recharge this phone at 25 watts, you are going to have to make sure that the wall adapter you're using can support at least 25 watts. So if you're using a 15 watt wall adapter, then it doesn't matter what cable you use, the phone will only be able to recharge at that rate. So something worth keeping in mind there. And then with this device, we are getting Android 14. It is running Samsung's One UI 6. And then this phone will be getting quite a few updates into the future. I believe it's going to be getting 4 full major Android software updates. So that's really awesome. And then if you've used Samsung software anytime in the last probably 4 or 5 years, then the experience here should be pretty familiar to you. One thing I like about One UI is that they don't really redesign it heavily every generation, but rather they just keep making it better and better. So this phone is packed full of a lot of really cool features, and I will be covering many of them in a separate video, so definitely stay tuned for that. And then another awesome thing about this phone too is that there is NFC, so if you do like to use your phone for tap and pay to make mobile contactless payments, then just know that you can do that here with this device. It is possible though that this phone might not come with NFC in certain regions, so keep that in mind, but at least in the US, NFC is available. But taking a look at the overall hardware of this device, It is made completely of plastic, besides the display, which is made of glass. But that being said, I do feel like they made the best of the materials that we're getting here, and the phone certainly does not feel cheap. Now, on the left side of the device, you can see we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. On the right side, we have volume up and volume down. We also have the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. And then up top here, we have the noise-canceling microphone. Then on the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have the triple camera setup, flash, Samsung logo, and that's pretty much it. Now, I kind of have mixed feelings about this material on the back of the phone. It kind of has this like mini grid look on the back of it, but it's completely flat and smooth. Now, unfortunately, it's kind of the worst of both worlds because not only does it pick up fingerprints, but it's also a matte finish. So typically the reason why I prefer phones to have a matte finish is so that they don't pick up any fingerprints at all. But the good news is that for most people, and I do recommend this as well, you should probably put a case on your device because plastic does scratch up quite a bit faster than other materials. And if you want to keep your phone looking fresh for at least a little while, you should put a case on it. So if you put a case on the phone, then I guess technically you're not going to really be getting fingerprints on the back of the device. But this concludes my hands-on and first impressions video of the Samsung Galaxy A25 5G. I'm super excited about this phone and I hope you are as well. And definitely let me know what you think of it. Do you feel like this is worth getting? Or do you feel like you should be getting a bit more out of a smartphone? Definitely let me know. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, definitely give it a thumbs up. This is Kevin here. This is the Galaxy A25 5G, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.